Channel 4 is a British public service television broadcaster that began transmission on the 2nd of November 1982. Although largely commercially self-funded, it is ultimately publicly owned, originally a subsidiary of the Independent Broadcasting Authority. The station is now owned and operated by Channel 4 Television Corporation, a public body established in 1990, coming into operation in 1993, with the conversion of the Wenvo transmitter group in Wales to digital on 31 March 2010. Channel 4 became a UK-wide TV channel for the first time. The channel was established to provide a fourth television service to the United Kingdom in addition to the television license-funded BBC's two services and the single commercial broadcasting network, ITV. History. Conception. Before Channel 4 and S4C, Britain had three terrestrial television services: BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. The Broadcasting Act 1980 began the process of adding a fourth, and Channel 4, along with its Welsh counterpart, was formally created by an Act of Parliament in 1982. After some months of test broadcasts, it began scheduled transmissions on the 2nd of November 1982. The notion of a second commercial broadcaster in the United Kingdom had been around since the inception of ITV in 1954 and its subsequent launch in 1955. The idea of an ITV2 was long expected and pushed for. Indeed, television sets sold throughout the 1970s and early 1980s had a spare channel called ITV, IBA2. Throughout ITV's history and until Channel 4 finally became a reality, a perennial dialogue existed between the GPO, the government, the ITV companies and other interested parties, concerning the form such an expansion of commercial broadcasting would take. It was most likely politics which had the biggest impact in leading to a delay of almost 3 decades before the second commercial channel became a reality, with what can crudely be summed up as a clash of ideologies between an expansion of ITV's commercial ethos and a public service approach more akin to the BBC. It was ultimately something of a compromise that eventually led to the formation of Channel 4 as launched in 1982. One clear benefit of the late arrival of the channel was that its frequency allocations at each transmitter had already been arranged in the early 1960s, when the launch of an ITV2 was highly anticipated. This led to very good coverage across most of the country and few problems of interference with other UK-based transmissions, a stark contrast to the problems associated with Channel 5's launch 14.5 years later. Wales. At the time the fourth service was being considered, a movement in Wales lobbied for the creation of dedicated service that would air Welsh-language programmes, then only catered for at off-peak times on BBC Wales and HTV. The campaign was taken so seriously by Gwynfor Evans, former president of Plaid Cymru, that he threatened the government with a hunger strike were it not to honour the plans. The result was that Channel 4, as seen by the rest of the United Kingdom, would be replaced in Wales by Cynel Pedwar Cymru. Operated by a specially created authority, S4C would air programmes in Welsh made by HTV, the BBC, or independent companies. Initially limited frequency space meant that Channel 4 could not be broadcast alongside S4C, though some Channel 4 programmes would be aired at less popular times on the Welsh variant, a practice that carried on up until the closure of S4C's analogue transmissions in 2010. Since then, carriage on digital cable, satellite and digital terrestrial has introduced Channel 4 to Welsh homes where it is now universally available. Launch. An IBA controlled the first voice heard on Channel 4's opening day of Tuesday 2 November 1982 was that of continuity announcer Paul Coia, who intoned, "Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be able to say to you, welcome to Channel 4, before heading into a montage of clips from its programs set to the station's signature tune, Fourscore. written by Lord David Dundas, which would form the basis of the station's jingles for its first decade. The first program to air on the channel was the tea-time game show Countdown, at 16:45, produced by Yorkshire Television. It is still running as of 2015. The first person to be seen on Channel 4 was Richard Whiteley, with Ted Moult being the second. The first woman on the channel, contrary to popular belief, was not Carol Vorderman and was a lexicographer only ever identified as Mary. Whiteley opened the show with the words, "As the countdown to a brand new channel ends, a brand new countdown begins." On its first day, Channel 4 also broadcast controversial soap opera Brookside, which ran for 21 years. On its launch, Channel 4 committed itself to providing an alternative to the existing channels, an agenda in part set out by its remit, which required the provision of programming to minority groups. In step with its remit, the channel became well received both by minority groups and the arts and cultural worlds during this period, especially under founding chief executive Jeremy Isaacs, where the channel gained a reputation for programs on the contemporary arts. Channel 4 co-commissioned Robert Ashley's groundbreaking television opera Perfect Lives, which it premiered over several episodes in 1984. The channel often did not receive mass audiences for much of this period, however, as might be expected for a station focusing on minority interest. Channel 4 for many years had a poorer quality signal compared to other channels. Channel 4 also began the funding of independent films, such as the Merchant Ivory docudrama The Courtesans of Bombay, during this time. In 1992, Channel 4 also faced its first libel case by Arnie Allen, a South African journalist, who objected to her representation in the documentary The Leader, His Driver and the Driver's Wife. Channel 4 Television Corporation, after control of the station passed from the Channel 4 Television Company to the Channel 4 Television Corporation in 1993. A shift in broadcasting style took place. Instead of aiming for the fringes of society, it began to focus on the edges of the mainstream, and the center of the mass market itself. It began to show many U.S. programs in peak viewing time, far more than it had previously done. It gave such shows as Friends and other UK premieres. In the early 2000s, Channel 4 began broadcasting reality formats such as Big Brother and obtained the rights to broadcast mass-appeal sporting events like cricket and horse racing. This new direction increased ratings and revenues. In addition, the corporation launched a number of new television channels through its New 4 Ventures offshoot, including Film 4, At the Races, E4 and More 4. Partially in reaction to its new, populist direction, the Communications Act 2003 directed the channel to demonstrate innovation, experimentation and creativity, appeal to the tastes and interests of a culturally diverse society, and to include programs of an educational nature which exhibit a distinctive character. On the 31st of December 2004, Channel 4 launched a new look and new idents in which the logo is disguised as different objects and the 4 can be seen in an angle. Under the leadership of Freeview founder Andy Duncan, 2005 saw a change of direction for Channel 4's digital channels. Channel 4 made E4 free to air on digital terrestrial television, and launched a new free-to-air digital channel called More 4. By October, Channel 4 had joined the Freeview consortium. By July 2006, Film 4 had also become a free-to-air, and restarted broadcasting on digital terrestrial, venturing into radio broadcasting. 2005 saw Channel 4 purchase 51% of shares in the now-defunct One Word radio station, with UBC Media holding onto the remaining shares. New programs such as the weekly, half-hour The Morning Report news program were among some of the new content Channel 4 provided for the station, with the name 4 Radio being used. as of early 2009. However, Channel 4's future involvement in radio remained uncertain. On the 2nd of November 2007, the station celebrated its 25th birthday. It showed the first episode of Countdown, an anniversary countdown special, as well as a special edition of The Big Fat Quiz, and using the original multicolored 1982 to 1996 blocks logo on presentation and idents using the Fourscore jingle throughout the day. The accompanying 3D glasses were distributed through Sainsbury's supermarkets. At 9 p.m. on 29 September 2015, Channel 4 revamped its presentation for a fifth time. The refreshed look ditches the 4 logo, with it now only seen in print advertising and on the dog on the HD channel. Instead, the logo is split into multiple variations, the various blocks that it is made up of, and these adorn the on-screen graphics for program promotions and break bumpers. 4 new idents, filmed by Jonathan Glazer, are used to introduce programs and feature various elements of the blocks within them. A fifth ident, in which hundreds of the blocks form what appears to be a clock face, is used to introduce the Channel 4 news. Future Channel 4 has raised concerns over how it might finance its public service obligations after digital switchover. However, some certainty lies in the announcement in April 2006 that Channel 4's digital switchover costs would be paid for by license fee revenues. On 28 March 2007, Channel 4 announced plans to launch a music channel, 4 Music, as a joint venture with British media company MAP, which would include carriage on the Freeview platform. On 15 August 2008, 4 Music was launched across the UK. Recently, Channel 4 have announced interest in launching a high-definition version of Film 4 on Freeview, to coincide with the launch of Channel 4 HD. However, the 4th HD slot was given to Channel 5 instead. Channel 4 has since acquired a 50% stake in EMAP's TV business for a reported £28 million. Public service remit. Channel 4 was established with, and continues to hold, a remit of public service obligations which it must fulfill. The remit changes periodically, as dictated by various Broadcasting and Communications Acts, and is regulated by the various authorities Channel 4 has been answerable to, originally the IBA, then the ITC, and now Ofcom. The preamble of the remit as per the Communications Act 2003 states that the public service remit for Channel 4 is the provision of a broad range of high-quality and diverse programming which, in particular, demonstrates innovation, experiment and creativity in the form and content of programs, appeals to the tastes and interests of a culturally diverse society, makes a significant contribution to meeting the need for the licensed public service channels to include programs of an educational nature and other programs of educative value, and exhibits of distinctive character. Carriage. Channel 4 was carried from its beginning on analog terrestrial, which was practically the only means of television broadcast in the United Kingdom at the time. It continued to be broadcast through these means until the changeover to digital terrestrial television in the United Kingdom was complete. Since 1998, it has been universally available on digital terrestrial and the Sky platform, as well as having been available from various times in various areas on analog and digital cable networks. Due to its special status as a public service broadcaster with a specific remit, it is afforded free carriage on the terrestrial platforms. In contrast with other broadcasters such as ITV, Channel 4 is also available outside the United Kingdom, where it is widely available in Ireland, Switzerland, Belgium and the Netherlands. Here viewers receive the channel either on basic cable subscription services or premium services. Channel 4 Ulster has been available in large parts of Ireland, especially border counties which have been able to receive terrestrial transmissions from Northern Ireland. Channel 4 Ulster has been carried on Irish cable networks since the station went on the air in 1982. S4C has been available as a terrestrial transmission from Wales in southern counties such as Cork, Waterford, Wexford and Wicklow. From 4 December 2006, Channel 4 was officially available to Sky viewers in Ireland. Some programmes, mainly imports, are not aired on this channel variant, due to Channel 4 not owning the relevant broadcast rights within the country. Channel 4 allowed Internet users in the United Kingdom to watch Channel 4 live on the Internet. However, some programs were not shown and this service no longer exists. Channel 4 is also provided by Virgin Mobile's DAB mobile TV service, which has the same restrictions as the Internet live stream had. Channel 4 is also carried by the Internet TV service TV Catch-Up and was previously carried by Zatu until the operator removed the channel from its platform. Channel 4 also makes some of its programming available on demand via cable and the Internet through All4. Funding. During the station's formative years, funding came from the ITV companies in return for their right to sell advertisements in their region on the 4th channel. Nowadays it pays for itself in much the same way as most privately run commercial stations, i.e., through the sale of on-air advertising, program sponsorship, and the sale of any program content and merchandising rights it owns, such as overseas sales and video sales. For example, as of 2012 its total revenues were £925 million, with 91% derived from sale of advertising. It also has the ability to subsidize the main network through any profits made on the corporation's other endeavors, which have in the past included subscription fees from stations such as E4 and Film 4 and its video-on-demand sales. In practice, however, these other activities are loss-making, and are subsidized by the main network. According to Channel 4's last published accounts, for 2005, the extent of this cross-subsidy was some £30 million. The change in funding came about under the Broadcasting Act 1990, where the new corporation was afforded the ability to fund itself. Originally this arrangement left a safety net, guaranteed minimum income should the revenue fall too low, funded by large insurance payments made to the ITV companies. Such a subsidy was never required, however, and these premiums were phased out by government in 1998. After the link with ITV was cut, the cross-promotion which had existed between ITV and Channel 4 also ended. In 2007, due to severe funding difficulties, the channel sought government help and was granted a payment of £14 million over a 6-year period. The money would have come from the television license fee and would have been the first time that money from the license fee had been given to any broadcaster other than the BBC. The plan was scrapped by the Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, Andy Burnham, ahead of broader decisions about the future framework of public service broadcasting. The broadcasting regulator Ofcom released their review in January 2009, in which they suggested that Channel 4 would preferably be funded by partnerships, joint ventures or mergers. Programming. Channel 4 is a publisher-broadcaster, meaning that it commissions or buys all of its programming from companies independent of itself, and was the first broadcaster in the United Kingdom to do so on any significant scale. This had the consequence of starting an industry of production companies that did not have to rely on owning an ITV license to see their programs air. Though since Channel 4, external commissioning has become regular practice on the numerous stations that have launched since, as well as on the BBC and in ITV. Ironically, having been the first British broadcaster to completely commission its programmes from third parties, Channel 4 was the last terrestrial broadcaster to outsource its transmission and play-out operations, after 25 years in-house. The requirement to obtain all content externally is stipulated in its license. Additionally, Channel 4 also began a trend of owning the copyright and distribution rights of the programs it aired, in a manner that is similar to the major Hollywood studios' ownership of television programs that they did not directly produce. Thus, although Channel 4 does not produce programs, many are seen as belonging to it. Channel 4 also pioneered the concept of stranded programming, where seasons of programs following a common theme would be aired and promoted together. Some would be very specific, and run for a fixed period of time. The Formation season, for example, showed innovative animation. Other, less specific strands, were run regularly, such as T4, a strand of programming aimed at teenagers, on weekend mornings, Friday night comedy, a slot where the channel would pioneer its style of comedy commissions, 4 Music and 4 Later, an eclectic collection of offbeat programs transmitted to a cult audience in the early hours of the morning. In its earlier years, Red Triangle was the name given to the airing of certain risque art house films due to the use of a red triangle dog in the upper right of the screen, dubbed as being pornographic by many of Channel 4's critics. While general broadcasting of films on the station for many years came under the banner of Film on 4 prior to the launch of the Film 4 brand and station in the late 1990s. The station's critically acclaimed news service, Channel 4 News, is supplied by ITN, while its long-standing investigative documentary, Dispatches, causes perennial media attention. Most watched programs. The following is a list of the 10 most watched shows on Channel 4 since 2002, based on Live Plus 7 data supplied by Barb.